The Hebrew writer implies it would be unjust for God if He ignored the good works that you do, but God's not that way. God is not of such a nature that He forgets the good things that you do. And specifically the good thing that they were doing that He praises is that they were serving one another. You have ministered or served, and you are still serving saints, God's children. That's how they were being fruitful. And God wouldn't forget it. And so we desire that each one of you show, verse 11, the same diligence so as to realize the full assurance of hope unto the end. What do you hope for? Well, ultimately, we all hope to get to heaven. That's our ultimate hope. The Hebrew writer here says, you minister and you serve one another, keeping in mind that God won't forget that. And through that, you are going to reach, you're going to realize that hope that you've had from day one. It's going to be there. The realization of that hope is going to be why? Because God keeps His promise. Let's move on to the third thing the Hebrew writer says. And that is that we need to have faith and patience. Are you like me? Sometimes you pray, God, give me patience, but hurry. Look at what the Hebrew writer says, verse 12 and following. So that you will not be sluggish, but imitators of those who through faith and patience inherit the promises. Now that right there shows us again why we need to be in Bible study. To learn about those that the Hebrew writer says that we need to imitate. Imitate those who have gone on before you so that you can, through the same faith and patience, inherit the promises. Faith and patience. Faith and patience. Do you trust God? Are you patient enough to wait for Him? Oh, how many examples there are in the Old Testament of people who could not wait for God to work. That's why, and he's going to talk about Abraham in just a moment, but that's why Abraham's wife Sarah said, you know what, God promised that you're going to be the father of many nations, and we don't have any children yet, so here, have a relationship with Hagar, my maid. Abraham does, and he has a son Ishmael. Was that God's plan? No. What did Abraham and Sarah do? They tried to rush God, and whenever we try to rush God, we mess things up, like Sarah and Hagar did. So the Hebrew writer here says, have faith and patience. Now, verse 13 is where he brings up Abraham. For when God made the promise to Abraham, since he could swear by no one greater, he swore by himself, saying, I will surely bless you, and I will surely multiply you. And so, having patiently waited, he obtained the promise. If you go into a court of law here in the United States, at least at one point, I don't know if it's still true, you can tell me if you know for sure, but at one point you had to put your hand on the Bible, right? And then you had to make an oath or swear. I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. The President of the United States and Congress takes a very similar oath, ending it with, so help me God. You know what that last part of the oath is? It's a modification of calling down from God a curse on you if you don't tell the truth. That's what that last phrase means. May I tell the truth, and if not, if I perjure myself, if I lie in the court of law, may God punish me. So we swear by someone who is greater than us. But God can't do that. God can't swear by anyone greater than He is because there is nobody greater than He is. So He swore by His own nature when He made that promise to Abraham mentioned in verse 14. Now in verse 14, the Hebrew writer quotes from Genesis chapter 22 and verse 17. Now if you want to go back and look and see what is going on in Abraham's life when God made that promise. I promise I will bless you. What's going on in Abraham's life? Genesis chapter 22 is where God tells Abraham, I want you to take your son, your only son, the one whom you love, Isaac, and I want you to kill him. Abraham had waited 25 years for that boy to come along. Now you think that you're running out of patience when you prayed last week for God to answer your prayer and He ain't done it yet? Abraham waited 25 years. How impatient are we? But through faith and through patience, eventually God fulfilled that promise He made to Abraham when He gave him Isaac. But now, we don't know how old Isaac was. Estimates are that he was around early teenage years. God says, now I want you to kill him. We know the story. I don't know what went through Abraham's mind when God said kill him. But God, this was the promise. He's a son of promise. I messed up with Ishmael, and now I had Isaac, and He fulfilled the promise, and now you want me to get rid of him? We don't know what went through Abraham's mind, but when Isaac said, Dad, here's the fire, and here's the wood, where's the sacrifice? And Abraham said, Son, God's going to provide. And you know, Abraham tied up Isaac, his son, and he put him on the altar, and he raised his knife to kill him. And the Hebrew writer will say over in chapter 11 that in Abraham's mind, he was planning on killing him. But he also believed that God could raise him from the dead. Faith and patience. Abraham had faith and patience. And so verse 15 says, having patiently waited to obtain the promise, and God told Abraham on that occasion, that's verse 17, He says, but Abraham, because I know that you obey my word, I'm going to bless you, and your seed is going to be more numerous than the grains of sand on the seashore, and more numerous than the stars in the sky. More than just one son, Abraham. You're going to have so many children you can't even count. So when you struggle with that, grow in your faith and in your patience. And then last of all, and of course this is the foundation of it all, keep in mind the nature of God. Look what the Hebrew writer says now, beginning in verse 16. For men swear by one greater than themselves, and with them an oath given as confirmation as an end of every dispute. You know, today we use it flippantly. We use it almost as a cuss word. I swear. But at one point, that really meant that's the bottom line. That's the end of it. I make an oath that what I'm telling you is true. The end of every dispute. In the same way, though, but in an even greater way, God, desiring even more to show to the heirs of promise the unchangeableness of His purpose, interposed with an oath. Now back in chapter 1, verse 2, the Hebrew writer had said that God made Jesus the heir of all things. Jesus is the heir of all things. Yes, but the Hebrew writer also says if you're God's children through Jesus Christ, you also are an heir of everything that God's promised to His Son Jesus. You're an heir to it as well. And to prove that, God is swearing by His own nature that He's going to stick with us. To show to the heirs of promise. Galatians chapter 3 and verse 29, other passages like Romans 4 verse 13 says that we are the heirs of Abraham through Jesus Christ. Because we follow in the same footsteps of faith as Abraham, then we're also heirs. Heirs of that great promise of enjoying life in Christ in heaven. Verse 18 now, so that by two unchangeable things in which it is impossible for God to lie, that is by His nature and by the oath that He swore, He cannot lie. We who have taken refuge would have strong encouragement to take hold of the hope that is set before us. Now notice the Hebrew writer says, first of all, we have already taken refuge in Christ. The Hebrew writer is writing to people who are already Christians, just like I'm talking to a bunch of Christians this morning. We've already sought refuge in Him. But now the Hebrew writer is saying, because you have taken refuge in Him, you need to be strongly encouraged to lay hold of the hope that is set out there in front of us. Grab a hold of that hope. You look back at that statement you made earlier that you have doubts about. Grab a hold of that hope. You've already taken refuge in Christ. Now seize that hope. This hope, he says in verse 19, this hope is an anchor of the soul. It's what keeps our lives from getting tossed back and forth because of these doubts and this discouragement that we struggle with day after day. No, we've got that hope that is sure. That is, it doesn't wiggle back and forth. It doesn't move back and forth. It's sure and it's steadfast. That means it's going to stay forever as long as we have breath in this body. That hope is steadfast and it's cast into or behind the veil into heaven, where he says in verse 20, Jesus Christ is already in it. Standing on the promises, Brother Rex led us in right before the song. Standing on the promises because of Christ's mighty kingdom. We have hope because of Jesus Christ. And here the Hebrew writer says our hope is cast into Christ like an anchor that holds us firm and steadfast through the trials and the storms of life. So now I want you to take a look at that statement you made that you have doubts about. Take a look at it. And write one or more of these Bible verses here beside it that might help you deal with that doubt. Let me tell you what the verses say, and then you pick one or more of them that will help you deal with that doubt. John chapter 14 and verse 1 and follow. Jesus says, you believe in God, believe also in me. For in my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. Why? Because Jesus cannot lie. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you, and if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself. You have doubts about that? Jesus says, I'm going to come back and take you by the hand. I'm going to take you there. Another promise we have up there is Hebrews 13, verse 5. I will never leave you or forsake you. You ever have doubts that God is in your life? You ever have doubts that God is in your life? Here's God's promise. I will never leave you or forsake you. Have you read that little thing about the person who says, I had a dream, and I dreamed that I was walking with God along the beach, the two of us together. But then when things got hard, I saw just one set of footprints in the sand. And I asked God, I said, God, why did you forsake me at the time when life got the hardest? And God answers and says, those single footprints in the sand was not when I forsook you. It's when I carried you. Hebrews 13:5. Mark chapter 16 and verse 16. One of the promises Jesus makes. He that believes and is baptized shall be saved. I'm not sure I'll go to heaven. Is that one of your doubts? I doubt I'll go to heaven. Did you do what Jesus said to do? He that believes and is baptized shall be saved. Jesus can't lie. Don't deal with that doubt. Don't struggle with that doubt. And then Romans 8, verse 28. This is probably one of the favorite promises. You may not know what that verse says, but when I quote it to you, you'll remember it. Romans 8, verse 28, the Apostle Paul says, all things work together for good. For those who love God and for those who are called according to His purpose. All things work together for good. It doesn't mean everything in our life is going to be good. Oh no, Jesus in fact promised us that's not the case. But He does say that God is going to work everything together